Ukrainian troops have moved cautiously to retake territory north of the country's capital, using cables to pull the bodies of civilians off the streets in one town out of fear that Russian forces might have booby-trapped them before leaving. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned in his nightly video address hours earlier that departing Russian troops were creating a catastrophic situation for civilians by leaving mines around homes, abandoned equipment, and even the bodies of those. His claims could not be independently verified. Ukrainian servicemen stand surrounding the body of man dressed in civilian clothing in the formerly Russian-occupied Kyiv suburb of Butcha. Associated Press journalists in Butcha, a suburb northwest of Kyiv, watched on Saturday as Ukrainian soldiers backed by a column of tanks and other armored vehicles used cables to drag bodies off of a street from a distance, fearing they might have been rigged to explode. Locals said the AP counted at least 6 were civilians who were by departing Russian soldiers without provocation. Those people were just walking and they shot them without any reason. Bang, said a Butcha resident who declined to give his name citing safety reasons. In the next neighborhood, Stekolka, it was even worse. They would shoot without asking any question. Ukraine and its Western allies reported mounting evidence of Russia withdrawing its forces from around Kyiv and building its troop strength in eastern Ukraine. The visible shift did not mean the country faced a reprieve from more than 5 weeks of war, or that the more than 4 million refugees who have fled Ukraine will return soon. Zelensky said he expects departed towns to endure missile strikes and rocket strikes from afar and for the battle in the east to be intense. It's still not possible to return to normal life, as it used to be, even at the territories that we are taking back after the fighting, the president said. Moscow's focus on eastern Ukraine also kept the besieged southeastern city of Mariupol in the crosshairs. The port city on the Sea of Azov is located in the mostly Russian-speaking Donbass region, where Russia-backed separatists have fought Ukrainian troops for 8 years. Military analysts think Russian President Vladimir Putin is determined to capture the region after his forces failed to secure Kyiv and other major cities. The International Committee of the Red Cross planned to try on Saturday to get into Mariupol to evacuate residents after cancelling the operation on Friday when it did not receive assurances the route was safe. Anti-tank mines are spread out on a bridge in Butcha, on the outskirts of Ukraine's capital Kyiv. City authorities said the Russians blocked access to the city. There was no word as of late Saturday whether the Red Cross managed to reach Mariupol. An advisor to Zelensky, Alexei Arestovich, said in an interview with Russian lawyer and activist Mark Fagin that Russia and Ukraine had reached an agreement to allow 45 buses to drive to Mariupol to evacuate residents in coming days. The Mariupol City Council said earlier on Saturday that 10 empty buses were headed to Berdyansk, a city 84 kilometers west of Mariupol, to pick up people who managed to get there on their own. About 2,000 made it out of Mariupol on Friday, some on buses and some in their own vehicles, city officials said. Meanwhile, Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister, Irina Vereshchuk, said 765 Mariupol residents on Saturday used private vehicles to reach Zaporizhia, a city still under Ukrainian control that has served as the destination for other planned evacuations. Among those escaping the city was Tamila Mazarenko, who said she fled Mariupol on Monday, made it to Berdyansk that night, then took a bus to Zaporizhia. Mazarenko said she waited for a bus until Friday, spending one night sleeping in a field. "I have only one question, why?" she said of her city's ordeal. "We only lived as normal people. And our normal life was destroyed. And we lost everything. I don't have any job, I can't find my son." Mariupol, which has been surrounded by Russian forces for more than a month, has suffered some of the war's worst attacks, including on a maternity hospital and a theater that was sheltering civilians. Around 100,000 people are believed to remain in the city, down from a pre-war population of 430,000, and they are facing dire shortages of water, food, fuel and medicine. The city's capture would give Moscow an unbroken land bridge from Russia to Crimea, which it seized from Ukraine in 2014. But its resistance has taken on symbolic significance during Russia's invasion, said Volodymyr Zelensky, head of the Ukrainian think tank Penta. Mariupol has become a symbol of Ukrainian resistance, and without its conquest, Putin cannot sit down at the negotiating table, Mr. Zelensky said. About 500 refugees from eastern Ukraine, including 99 children and 12 people with disabilities, arrived in the Russian city of Kazan by train overnight. Asked if he saw a chance to return home, Mariupol resident Artur Kyilov answered, "That's unlikely, there is no city anymore." A car burns outside a maternity hospital damaged by shelling in Mariupol, Ukraine. In towns and cities surrounding Kyiv, signs of fierce fighting were everywhere in the wake of the Russian redeployment. Destroyed armored vehicles from both armies are left in streets and fields along with scattered military gear. Ukrainian troops were stationed at the entrance to Antonov Airport in suburb of Hostomel, demonstrating control of the runway that Russia tried to storm in the first days of the war. Inside the compound, the Mriya, one of the biggest planes ever built, lay wrecked underneath a hangar pockmarked with holes from the February Russian attack. The Russians couldn't make one like it, so they destroyed it, said Alexander Merkushev, mayor of the Kyiv suburb of Irpin. Irpin has seen some of the fiercest battles of the war, and Merkushev said the Russian troops left behind them many bodies, many destroyed buildings, and they mined many places. COVID in UK at record levels with almost 5 million infected. Internally displaced people from Mariupol and nearby towns arrive in Zaporizhia in Ukraine. A prominent Ukrainian photojournalist, who went missing last month in a combat zone near the capital, was found on Friday in the Huta-Mezhyhurska village north of Kyiv, the country's Prosecutor General's office announced. Max Levin, 40, worked as a photojournalist and videographer for many Ukrainian and international publications. The Prosecutor General's office attributed his to 2 gunshots allegedly fired by the Russian military, and it said an investigation was underway. Elsewhere, at least 3 Russian ballistic missiles were fired late Friday at the Odessa region on the Black Sea, regional leader Maxim Mochenko said. The Ukrainian military said the Iskander missiles did not hit the critical infrastructure they targeted in Odessa, Ukraine's largest port, and the headquarters of its navy. Ukraine's state nuclear agency reported a series of blasts on Saturday that injured 4 people in Enohoda, a city in southeastern Ukraine that has been under Russian control since early March, along with the nearby Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Ukraine's human rights ombudsman said on Telegram that the 4 were badly burned when Russian troops fired light and noise grenades and mortars at a pro-Ukraine demonstration. The head of Ukraine's delegation in talks with Russia said Moscow's negotiators informally agreed to most of a draft proposal discussed during face-to-face talks in Istanbul this week, but no written confirmation has been provided. A Ukrainian soldier looks at Russian soldiers in Butcha, in the outskirts of Kyiv. However, David Arakamia said on Ukrainian TV that he hopes that draft is developed enough so that the 2 countries' presidents can meet to discuss it. On Friday, the Kremlin accused Ukraine of launching a helicopter attack on a fuel depot on Russian soil. Ukraine denied responsibility for the fiery blast at the civilian oil storage facility on the outskirts of the city of Belgorod, about 25 kilometers from the Ukraine border. Mothers tears amid ongoing onslaught on Ukraine.